every year there's controversy surrounding my placement. One year I'm second in the world by comparison to somebody that's 50 pounds heavier and 5 inches taller. The only criteria for which they place ahead of me is size and size alone. I'm a little bit disillusioned with the judging procedure. I'm sure a lot of the fans are too. I get letters every day being frustrated with the current trend in bodybuilding, in that they've gotten away from what bodybuilding is all about. Bodybuilding is about building muscle and size, there's no question, but to the exclusion of symmetry, proportion, definition, presentation, and all the things that they say they judge on isn't fair. And I seem to be coming up short on all scorecards when you take in the other factors besides just enormous mass. Right now in 1996, the flavor of the year is mass. And I think that when you look at the Mr. Olympia contest and you start going down the weights of the bodybuilders, 274 with Jurassic Paul Dillette, 255 with Dorian Yates, 4-time Mr. Olympia, 253 with Kevin Levrone, and 264 with Nasser El Somebody. That all sounds impressive. But when you start breaking it down and analyzing bodybuilding for what it's supposed to be, the shape, the symmetry, the genetics, the balance, the pleasing tone of the skin, the color of the skin, the tie-ins on the muscles, it's really hard for me to understand how some of these guys are winning contests and placing in places that I don't think they deserve. But I know the answer, and I know why. And for that reason, I've become one of the more controversial bodybuilders. People ask me my opinion, and I tell them what I believe or what I think. And in doing so, sometimes I get crucified for it. But I sleep well at nights. My placements sometimes, I think, hurt me because of some things I've said. But if you ask me a question, I tell you the truth. You can like me or hate me. That's not my goal, trying to make friends when I'm on the stage at the Mr. Olympia. My goal is to just do the best that I can do. But when you're penalized with prejudice and bias and politics, it makes it harder and harder every year to get back up on that stage in front of the same judges and put it all on the line. I train just as hard as 4-time Mr. Olympia does, and yet he says I don't respect him. In 1994, he came on stage with a torn bicep and a bloated stomach and a lot of missing detail that Mr. Olympia should have, or what he displayed in 93. And because I went on record and said that a guy that's incomplete with a torn muscle shouldn't be the ideal embodiment of Mr. Olympia. He shouldn't have been Mr. Olympia, and he still won the contest. He thought I was disrespecting him. I wasn't disrespecting Dorian Yates. I said what everybody else wanted to say. I said what everybody else saw. When he had came in the contest off, clearly off, with a torn bicep and a bloated stomach, I wasn't disrespecting him. I was making an observation that everybody in the audience could see, that we have video footage and photos to back up, and yet he still won the contest. I don't know why he took that personal. He's the first one to tell you he was off, he was incomplete. So that if they're going to reward somebody that comes in off and incomplete with only one arm, then that tells you there's something wrong with the system, not something wrong with me, because I pointed it out. I didn't disrespect Dorian Yates. I don't even know the man. I could care less what Dorian Yates does or his opinion of me. He's taking food off of my table. When I get on that stage, he's the enemy. He's the one I'm trying to knock out. He is the one, supposedly, that the judges are saying is setting the standard. I'm not trying to look like Dorian. I'm trying to look the best that Shawn Ray can look, which hopefully in turn will defeat whoever has the title. But when I say what I say about the champion's got to understand that comes with the territory. I'm a challenger. I've never got first place in the Mr. Olympia. So everything that I strive for is to break down what the champion does not have. If the champion does not have a midsection, it's my job to point it out. Obviously the judges aren't seeing it. If the champion has only one bicep, it's my job as a competitor to say, hey, he has a torn bicep. Does that count for anything? It's my job as a challenger to say, look, the guy's got an enormous back, but what about his shoulders? What about his thigh separation? What about the bloated stomach? I mean, I'm not knocking Dorian. That comes with the territory. If I was a champion, they would be saying that about me. He's short, he's narrow, he's this or he's that. If the champion can't handle being a champion, then maybe he shouldn't be a champion.